Yes, it is 11 a.m. on Friday. I'm going to try to go live around this time on Fridays for my Friday show, and nobody I'd rather do it with than the great Christian Finnegan, who you see there in his very woodsy shirt and his woodsy cabin upstate. Hi,
Hi, Peter. How are you?
I'm good. I like your look. I like the
Thank
situation.
you.
You look great.
Yeah, I am pretending to be manly and rural today.
Like it.
I don't know how well I'm playing it off, but yeah.
What's the man?
Uh,
What's the manliest thing you've done or been involved with doing or adjacent to even?
this week, this trip, or in
Yeah.
general?
Just like
Um,
I'm thinking of an autumnal activity or some responsibility you have around leaves or
I
closing a
considered
valve.
I considered doing a fire pit last night, but did not do it. So, but that moment of consideration was very manly, I thought. We went on. I did go on a hike yesterday. I don't know if that's manly, but
Yeah, that's manly. I mean,
a little hike with the dogs. Yeah, good stuff.
getting out there. I mean, you're not scared. What do you get scared up there of anything?
Um, it's gotten I've gotten used to it. It took a number of years for me to not be weirded out. The weirdest thing is when you do hear noise up here because it's like completely silent, and then sometimes there'll be noise and I don't register it at first because I just think I'm in the city, and then I was like, oh wait, that's not normal. I mean, we do get like owls up here, which are only scary just because I'm worried that they're gonna like swoop down and try to grab one of my little dogs, which is
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of people have that fear with the little dog that a bird is going to.
yeah.
And now
There's
with
you
AI,
do hear hyenas occasionally, or not hyenas. Jesus Christ, hyenas, coyotes occasionally. I don't think we have hyenas here. Uh,
just begin the Lion King and the Catskills. That's no, those are scary. You don't want scary because you have little pups. And now, does that ever really happen? Because the AI will make me think it's happening like crazy. The a bird of prey picking up a small puppy. Have you heard of it? Like, are there statistics?
I have heard of it. I don't know
Oh,
about
it'd be
statistics, and I'm sure
horrible.
it's all apocryphal, but not that I think that they swoop down and be like, "I want to kill that dog," but they just see motion and assume it's like a mouse or some
Right.
sort of vole, and then swoop in and do their damage.
It would be a
But
terrible thing to watch your dog be flown away from you. It'd be like that time
I yeah. No,
when
go
I
ahead.
got my brother a drone as a gift for his birthday, and I unboxed it and I flew it up, and he's like, "What are you doing? You don't even know how to use it." And I was like, it's got a return button," and it flew away.
Hey, if you love something, you must set it free, And so it never came back?
His reaction, I will never forget, is probably one of the worst slash funniest. It was just, I turned around and he just looked at me and he's like, "Why? It's gone now. Now it's gone. I never even held it. I wanted that so bad."
This is how old? How long ago?
Maybe 2 years ago. It's so bad. It
That's
was so
terrible.
I
That
felt
is terrible.
we went and tried to find it. It made it worth it. All right. So lots that I want to talk with you about. You're a New York City resident. I want to ask you about the debate last night. I got to get to that. But first, most important thing we need to discuss is the Time magazine photo of President Trump and the controversy. First, he reacted to it. He was very upset. Then the other realistic reaction I want to ask you about is his ear looks amazing. I don't think he got shot, is all I'm going to say, because I don't know where he got shot. Just show me where on his body he got shot or like a medical report still. And I hate conspiracy theories, but that ear looks amazing. But what doesn't look amazing, and was a lot of the talk last night at our hangout, and I will mention it was by women brought this issue up, was his neck vagina. They called it all kinds of names. There was a lot of silliness, neck twat, nussy, I believe
Mhm.
was one. Do you have any thoughts on that picture or specifically a particular name that it should be referred to as?
You know, I try to not, uh, insult anyone by saying they look like a woman's vagina because God bless women's vaginas.
Sure, sure. Good point.
So but it was very roast beefy. It was, the It was a large beef curtain stuffed into that dress shirt,
Yeah.
and like billowy. That's and this is the one area in which I do feel some kinship to Donald Trump, is that it hasn't happened yet, but I can feel it starting. Like I can see a little. It's that Irish, Scottish, British heritage. It's just this sort of neck waddle
Yeah.
thing happens, and so there, but for the grace of God, go I. But yeah, I mean, it was just the most awkward part about it is just how horny it got me. Just
Oh,
the
yeah.
the boner I had looking at it. Looking at it now, I have it as my screensaver.
That's really a quite an admission. Did you see what Governor Gavin Newsom did to it when he shared it?
No, what did he do? That's funny. All
I
right,
loved
all
it
right.
so much. I thought it was great. You don't want to give him full credit for that joke, but
Yeah, the good job, intern.
all right, fair enough. All right, got to ask you about more important thing. Oh, do you want to say anything about the ear, the conspiracy that he didn't get shot? Where are you on that? People were all
Yeah, no, I
smart
am I
people.
am very much that there's more to it. At the very least, there is way more to it than we haven't heard, because it's just way too convenient. And I'm sorry, like Occam's razor would tell you that there's some shady shit there. In the same way that like JFK, like I don't think you have to be a JFK conspiracy theory person to say, okay, there's clearly information here that we're not being told, at the very least. So like with this assassination attempt, the amount of time he was on the ground, the way, the people talking about how there was like a blood packet behind his ear, like, eh, okay, maybe all of that is a little conspiracy theory, but it's just too perfect, and it's too straight up to people who think that, like, oh, this would never happen. It's like, have you met Donald Trump? Have you seen the people around him? Is this not exactly the kind of bullshit that his people and his
Well,
campaign
the
would
thing
have
that doesn't, but the
done?
thing that it all comes apart when a fact that some kid shot and killed people. He blew a guy's head off. So that did happen. We're not questioning that, are we?
Yeah,
Just saying
no,
like
no, no, of course, no.
a
I
uh,
mean,
a truther for that, whatever that guy's firefighter who got killed's name. I forget his name, but I mean,
there's queer, yeah, but I don't know if it was like a plan that went awry, that this kid, that it wasn't. I don't know. Like I said, you're right.
all
The
right.
further you wade into it, then it's like, okay, now I'm defending some stuff that's
Yeah, we
pretty
don't want.
out
I don't
there.
want to do that. Not on the air. I do it off the air with you, plenty, and everybody else at our hangouts. I entertain conspiracy theories at the hangouts. I don't want to platform them, but those are the questions. I mean,
That's
seeing that time.
all I'll say is that the story as told is incomplete. That's the only thing I will sort of stand on 10 toes about. That there's clearly information surrounding that incident that we have not been told. That's
Yeah.
all I'll say.
The biggest, most important story of the week was probably like the hostage exchange, but also here that affects us even more here domestically was the Supreme Court oral arguments that were heard about gutting what's left of the Voting Rights Act, which is the crown jewel of the civil rights movement. It's what many people died in March for, and they're almost done destroying it so that they can rewrite rules and laws that makes it harder for people to vote, particularly people who would likely vote Democrat, obviously often people of color. And so that was a big story. Last night, there was also a mayoral debate, Christian, and in New York City, and
What?
everybody was watching it everywhere. And I wonder if you had any thoughts about any of those stories from the week, and obviously want to get your particular perspective on last night's debate.
Well, I'll just work backwards from that. The debate, I don't think anybody who's going to vote for Zoran is still going to vote for Zoran. Anyone, I do think that there's a section of people who might have held their nose and voted for Cuomo, who might have looked at Curtis Sliwa and said, you know what? That guy. Like, if I'm going to throw my vote away, I at least want to throw my vote away on an actual New Yorker. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I
That's
do
interesting.
think that there a lot of Republicans who might have gone Cuomo as like a let's defeat Mamdani thing, but who watching that debate last night, I thought Sliwa actually, you know, presented himself. It was bizarre because he seemed like a crazy old cat lady dude, which is what he is. But every once in a while, like he has these moments of lucidity and moments of like kind of real New Yorker shit. You know what I mean? Like if Cuomo was trying to present himself as like, kind of the from the streets New York guy, which he tries to act like, Mr. Tough New York guy, he looked ridiculous next to Sliwa, who is the genuine article of that. And so I don't think anybody who was considering voting for Zoran had their mind changed last night. I don't think so. I think what you might see is a little more support for Sliwa, and I think Cuomo is going to sink even further, is what I think.
Do you think that the Democratic base in America is more likely to be behind a guy like Zoran Mamdani and his policies than what the olds, what might be referred to as a Democratic establishment? Like, I feel like this guy is a real harbinger, and he's just an amazing communicator and messenger on policies that are, I don't know, without putting too much of a finger in the scale, a majority of people support when they hear about them. Affordability.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's when you see someone who has his intellectual and moral ducks in a row,
yeah,
even if you don't agree with him, there's a certain power to say, okay, well, at least I know who this dude is. I know what he's for, what he's about. He's, it's funny that, he's constantly talked about how authentic he is. And it's like he goes into his talking points as much, if not more, than any other politician I've ever seen. Mamdani does. Having kind of watched pretty closely for like the last year, it's like I can repeat some of the anecdotes by heart.
Right.
But the difference is they're anecdotes that are based on like moral certitude, or not certitude is too strong word, of having some sort of moral compass. And so I'm fine with hearing the anecdotes over and over again because they describe a discernible worldview and some sort of moral perspective. Yeah, that doesn't just sound like consultant speak. It doesn't sound like a greasy dodge for just not doing anything, or and so I think that it's a reminder of what public service could be, and I think that is attractive to a lot of people, even many who might not certainly don't consider themselves democratic socialists and may not even consider themselves particularly far left. But there's just something about the youthful energy, and I'm not talking about just strictly being young, but just the sort of the passion that he is engendering among the people who are going to be the future of New York City. The 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, the 40-year-olds. That is, you want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of that. I think it's very exciting. I'm very hopeful for him.
Great. I love that. I like it a lot. I think that his personality and ability to communicate the way he does that matters a lot in a city where there will be tragedies. Things will be broken. Yes. Bad things.
I mean, yeah, the big test is going to come. I'm curious to see what happens, once we have, knock on wood, Mayor Mamdani. The first time that he has to get up there and defend the NYPD after some questionable shooting of some sort, which as mayor he will have to do.
Yeah,
I'm curious to see what the real left edge do they kind of come out against him the way a lot of them have come out against AOC. That's what I'm curious to see.
Depends on how big of an issue law enforcement abuse is, and it tends to waver with administration sometimes based on policy, based on who's a commissioner, based on a lot of things. But that's a really, really good point. All right. So also wanted to ask you, well, did you want to say anything about, we had a bit of a discussion, and there's kind of a, debate. I don't know if it's the most important thing about, giving Donald Trump credit for the hostage exchange or quote peace, which there isn't any. In all the places he says he creates peace, he just says it and then he leaves and they start fighting again. It's that simple. There's nothing signed. He just says stuff. Yesterday, he says they've got something from the Indian government on trade signed. The Indian government had to respond publicly, be like, we don't. Sorry. We actually, I don't know what he's talking about. He's losing it. But more importantly, the question was about, should he be given credit? I'm arguing no, and for a lot of different reasons, including the fact that he may have scuttled a previous negotiation when he wasn't president, a la Nixon, Vietnam, and Reagan on the hostages. So your thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he should be given credit. I don't think that the future is written at all in terms of, and I'm certainly not rooting for the ceasefire to break. I hope that it leads to a lasting cessation of violence. I'm not gonna say a lasting peace, because unless changes are made, there never will be peace. Like, peace and order are not the same thing. It's like, okay, what you have now is some semblance of order, or some semblance of like cessation of physical hostilities, but there's not peace if they're not free. There's not peace if it just goes back to being a police state.
They exchanged hostages, and people went back to their homes. The homes were demolished. Enough cannot be said about the images. Imagine going back to your home and it's been destroyed. All of them, like all across the city. It's crazy. Sorry, I just had to.
Where are you sleeping at night? Where are you showering? Where are you using the bathroom? Where are you eating? Just, it is post-apocalyptic there. And so to say, rah rah, we did it, guys, we're all kumbaya now. It's like, there's so many steps to it too. I mean, the whole Hamas has to demilitarize before Israel fully pulls back its troops. Well, who here thinks that's going to happen? Do you know what I mean? And I'm not even saying, like, who even knows what that looks like or what that means?
Who's enforcing
Hamas? Because Israel will always be able to correctly claim that Hamas has not demilitarized, because, like, there's always going to be one dude out there with an AK-47 or whatever. I mean, and so there's always going to be the excuse of, like, well, we don't have to pull out because they haven't demilitarized yet. And it's like, well, we haven't demilitarized yet because they haven't pulled out. And then there's the whole question of, are they just going to shift all of that military energy to the West Bank, until Trump finishes his little victory lap among the sycophants and idiots? Are they just going to go back in and continue to do the same campaign? It's just impossible. The speed with which a lot of the media and a lot of the punditocracy wants to rush in and be like, well, we got it. He did it, guys. We got to give him credit for this. Why? I don't I mean, I do understand it, but
people want there to be, I don't know, the listener and I who were talking about it was just talking about, you lose credit if you can't give honest credit. And we went back and forth on it. It was really thoughtful exchange, but more important issues in terms of domestically here, I mentioned the Voting Rights Act. I don't know if you paid any attention to that. I did want to ask you about, just real quick, dispense with this, humor me on the going back to Mamdani, because I got in a weird, not argument. I just always try to tangle with the MAGA people in my town. And the association with terrorism, Mamdani with terrorism, it's always racist, right? Like, just full stop, because they say he's a terrorist because he's a Muslim, some people say, and then other people just imply it, and then finally they say he's a terrorist sympathizer because he, quote, supports Hamas, which he doesn't. But saying his name and connecting it to terrorist or terrorist sympathizer, it's just always full racist, full stop. Yes?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and the whole thing about, he has not condemned Hamas. It's like, he's condemned Hamas 100 times.
Right.
He hasn't condemned Hamas to your definition of condemn, which means giving Israel, a back rub. That's what it would require, is for him literally to bring a bouquet of flowers to Benjamin Netanyahu. That's what condemning Hamas looks like in the minds of these people. So we can say, I can condemn Hamas, and it doesn't matter, because unless you're willing to say Israel exists has right to exist as a Jewish state, and et cetera, and all the other sort of litmus tests they want to place, they're not looking for actual any sort of political movement from Mamdani. They want a scalp. They want to scalp. They want to see him go back on his principles so that they can say they want him to bend the knee. And they know that by doing that, he will lose a lot of the support he has on the left for people who respect him for not doing that. So if they can get him to break on that, then I think they think that he gets broken in general.
Right.
That if they can get him to kiss the ring enough, that the sort of mystique of Mamdani goes away, is what
Right.
I think.
All right, lighter subject real quick. Your thoughts on Ace Frehley. You're a music guy. You write a great Substack newsletter. If people are watching and they're not, somehow they found us here on YouTube because I went live or whatever else, or you don't know, New Music for Olds is Christian Substack. You should subscribe to it. He's taught me so much.
Featured in Spin Magazine this week.
A great review. I shared it.
Yeah, that was fun. Huh? That was cool. I was pretty psyched about that.
That's a big deal. I mean, is anything like that? It's very flattering. I hope that it gets you, more
It's
attention.
great. I mean, it's just one of the readers of the newsletter. Not like I had a whole ton. Reached out to me and was like, "Hey, I do some writing for Spin, and who knows what a magazine even means in 2025. It's a digital publication, I think, at this point or whatever. But it was really cool, and it has led to a nice little influx of new readers, which now makes me feel like I have to start taking it seriously, which is a real tragedy. But yeah, no. But Ace Frehley, you wanted to ask about Ace Frehley?
Well, yeah, I do, but I just want to say, I think that I'm trying to boot it up, and it always fucks with my internet when I'm doing a live. But you getting that attention and respect, and I'm glad it's led to more folks, and we should revisit. I'll say it right here on the record. We should revisit the podcast version of it because it's so good. It really is good. You put a lot of work into it, and we love it. That's all you want is more work. All right, Ace Frehley, what are your thoughts?
I do want, yeah. My thoughts on Ace Frehley are that he is on the. There are the people who are influential to. There are the artists who are influential to artists, who are influential to writers and critics and people in the know. And then there are people who are influential to like the dude that you grew up down the street from. Do you know what I mean? Like there are people who are like Ace Frehley is incredibly underrated in terms of his influence on just like suburban dudes playing guitar in the garage. I would not call him the world's greatest guitar player or certainly not a great songwriter of his own volition. Certainly not a great songwriter, but was kind of like when you're not a great player, you are kind of forced to play what is essential because you can't play, crazy scales and I have a theory about bands that every band should have one virtuoso and one person who sucks. That all good bands need somebody who sucks. Kiss, you could argue, had three of them, but
oh wow,
because you need somebody who kind of keeps it essential, who plays what needs to be played, as opposed to like, look how many years of lessons I've had. Do you know what I mean? And
but I could never tell the difference between such a thing, but I can relate to the idea of it and love that that's how you're talking about this band in particular.
I mean, Kiss is one of those bands where everybody says they're shit and they're all correct. And everybody else says that they're awesome and they're all correct too.
In my weird very little bubble of reaction to it, it just seemed like his passing was one of those passings that people of a certain age, my age, look at me like, oh man, I grew up with him. And that was like the conclusion. There wasn't like a lot more than, I can't believe I love those guys growing up, because he wasn't seemingly as impactful on culture. Although the band, I guess, as a whole probably was, but
the
still.
band is massively underrated in terms of its impact on the culture at large. Now, you could say that a lot of that impact was negative, in terms of the commercialization of rock and costumes and the showmanship part. Gene Simmons is the world's biggest marketing whore. there's a lot about Kiss that you could say that's negative and you'd be correct. And there's a lot about Kiss you could say that's positive and would be correct. But people who underrate the impact of Kiss on the lives of anybody who came of age in the 70s and early 80s is fooling themselves. I mean, they're on the Mount Rushmore of bands that rocked the suburbs, you know,
Uh,
which is bizarre because they're from Brooklyn, but they're always a suburban
okay.
band
Yeah.
in my mind. You know, and in terms of him dying, he didn't seem like a guy who was going to live to 90. I'm
Mm.
honestly surprised. He, you know, it's a bad history with drugs and alcohol, and he had been in car accidents. And you know, if you'd seen any interviews with him in the past 10 years, he did not seem like a guy who is, you know, a spring chicken.
Well, at least see it.
I'll just say
He
that.
went out. Well, I was going to say he went out on his own terms. He didn't. He fell. He had an accident. It's terrible. But still, maybe better than
Yeah, I
dying
mean,
slowly. That's what.
yeah, I'm very,
But
I'm very sensitive to human frailty, and that like my dad, you know, had a fall. He's in assisted living now, and he had a fall and spent like 2 weeks in the hospital, and now is like doing all rehab and stuff. And it's crazy just when you get to a certain age and a certain physical condition, a single fall can just precipitate so much. And so, you know, he's about
that's
my
why I
dad's age.
work. That's why I'm doing a lot of mobility exercises, specifically with my pelvic girdle.
Yeah. Is that an actual body part, or are you actually wearing a pelvic girdle?
Both. But the pelvic girdle
What
I wear has nothing to do with mobility. That's just to keep me,
just to feel sassy?
yeah, feel tight and
Yeah.
warm. And it's like a
Like
warm.
like in Bull Durham when
Oh
Tim
yeah,
Robbins wears the
yeah.
lacy thing.
Made me super uncomfortable when I saw that when I was a little. I was young. I was like, "What's going on here? I don't like this."
I don't why do I feel a tingling sensation?
So now I want to talk about his men's health, but I want to ask you two more quick questions, which are really important, which affect everybody. Obviously, the government shut down and no King's Day, and I just wanted to get quickly, your reaction first on the fact that Republicans from Caroline Leavitt to Mike Johnson, to everybody else have got the talking point. We're the enemies. Anybody who's not MAGA is Antifa. Anybody who's not MAGA is the enemy. Anything you want to say. God forbid you call them deplorables. The world is going to end. You call them fascists. It's terrible. That's why they do violent things. Meanwhile, they're calling us the fucking enemy and worse, animals. But specifically from the White House, this is what you're hearing, specifically from our Mad King, and obviously now Mike Johnson. We who are going to be out Saturday, tomorrow at No King's protests we're the enemy. And we're Antifa. What are your thoughts about the No Kings protest and what is being said about everybody who's not them?
I mean, I don't think it's right on their part at the end of the day, because it's one thing if you want to call democratic socialists Antifa, or if you want to talk about Black Lives Matter protesters as social or as Antifa or dangerous terrorist groups or whatever. But like when you start describing people's moms as that, and your neighbors and people who people know on a first name basis, it's like, okay, my neighbor, I'm a Trump voter. I'm maybe not a MAGA, but I'm a Republican guy who votes for Trump. And my next door neighbor is this annoying lady with purple hair, and she has one of those "We believe in science" placards on her lawn or whatever. It's like, okay, I might not like her, but I know she's not a fucking terrorist. It's like our kids go to school together. I see her at the supermarket. We may have gone to high school together. And so I really, I hope that they are just really flooding the market with this terrorist stuff in a way that is diluting the impact of it. And I mean, I know that they're basically just doing this to set up the crackdown. If they call everybody terrorists now, then they can go after terrorists, and that can mean anything they want it to mean. But in terms of, I mean, I guess the argument is, how much does public opinion matter in a totalitarian government?
Mm.
When you have a government that has seized power and seized any sort of military strength, and they have military in the streets and brown shirts and all that. does it matter if 75% of the people are against you? I don't know. We'll see, I suppose. But I don't think it's smart for them to have labeled this protest that's going to happen tomorrow as dangerous, because I think what you're going to see is a lot of dads and kids and moms and old people and young people, and it's not going to look like terrorists to anyone who's not completely drank the Kool-Aid on it. We'll see, though.
Really good points. I mean, I hope nobody's afraid to be out there. I hope they're not. I mean, they're also, by doing this, they're also in everything else they're doing with all these images we're seeing from especially Chicago and Portland, California, and elsewhere. When we see those images, it might make us not want to go to a protest because they're going to be there and shooting us with rubber bullets or worse. And so people get sometimes scared and concerned to go out to the protests.
Yeah, I mean, I
don't think they're going to do
some sort of.
They don't mind making you think they might.
I have a negative prediction, which I don't even necessarily know if I want to voice out loud, but I will. I think that they being the Trump administration, the Stephen Miller cabal, and all those people, they will pick one protest to try to create genuine chaos at probably the one in DC, but it could be any of them around the country. And they will then try to do the shiny object thing where they create massive chaos at one protest, and then all the media attention goes to covering that.
Great point. You know, they're going to do that. As a matter of fact, they did it in Portland the other night. They backed up the lines of protesters, then they threw out tear gas, and they had a bunch of their propaganda people with cameras. The cameras go everywhere with these guys, following them everywhere. Yeah. And then they make one of their slick videos, but it looks like a riot. There's smoke. There's people running around. It's nothing of the sort. It's created by them, and they film it, and then they get what they want. And that's a great, I think that prediction or something similar. If it's not on New King's Day, it'll be on some other random day, but they're going to keep doing.
But I think they'll specifically do it tomorrow as a way to try to stop ABC, NBC, well, CBS, fuck that. But they will try to create some sort of scene to try to drag all of the media attention to this one chaotic scene that they want to promote, as opposed to the 2,599 other protests around the country that will go off without any chaos.
So much more I want to talk with you about, but I'm going to let you go, I guess. Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that CEO of Salesforce, Mark Benoff, made comments? You hear about that story? And then these two comedians canceled performing at the corporate gig that apparently is a real high-paying gig.
Did it say which comedians?
Yes, but you haven't heard this story? I'll get your reaction.
I know that about him saying they should bring the National Guard to San Francisco, and him working with his company to work with ICE to try to get ICE contracts. I know all that. And if you scratch the surface on any fucking billionaire, at the end of the day, you're going to come up with a guy who's going to do something scummy, regardless of how, genteel and liberal they might try to paint themselves as. If you scratch the surface, you'll find why they're all a mistake, period.
Very well said. There should be no billionaires, and they will always sell you out. On the same day that he made those comments, this guy, Ron Conway, known as the Godfather of Silicon Valley, excoriated Benoff for his political turn and resigned from the board of Salesforce Foundation. But the comedians, Kumail Nanjiani and Ilana Glazer, canceled their performances at the 3-day conference, which happens every year. John Mulaney did it last year, got a lot of good attention because he poked fun at everybody in the industry. He was getting paid probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. They canceled. They left a lot of money on the table, these two comedians, but they were able to get a comedian. Guess who? Last minute.
Tell me it's not Chappelle.
David Spade.
David Spade. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I thought they got a comedian.
Oh,
ouchie. Yeah. Yeah. I
It's a
wish I
weird
could say
thing
that
that
that's blessing.
when two comedians cancel on principle on this gig and it's high profile, the one who comes in and does it is a scab. It's crossing the picket line. It's just like it's an easy no at that point, PR wise. But you know, to me,
No, I don't know though, but there's something there's a comedian there's a comedian contrarianism that I think tells them that it's like that I'm almost being naughty by taking it now. Like there's something attractive. I think this is what they tell themselves is that like, oh, they don't want me to do this gig, so I'm gonna do it, you know. Never mind that I'm also getting paid a shit ton of money and all that. But it's like it almost feels they feel punk rock for doing it.
well, at least the Pentagon reporters stuck together. You impressed with that?
I am. I am. You know, we'll see. I don't know really why they need to have reporters like embedded in the building like that in the first place, but I am pleasantly surprised that everyone except for unless something changed, I heard OAN was the only one who actually signed the
No, seven
whatever.
other right wing networks
Oh,
that you haven't probably
oh,
even.
really?
Yeah.
Any none, but not news didn't. Last I heard, Newsmax and Fox did not.
Right. That's
Yeah,
what I've heard as
so
well. I mean, lots of reasons to have reporters in there full time, including just on government contracting projects and making sure money goes where it's supposed to go and staying on top of bill.
yeah.
You know, when you're spending that much money, you got to have a bunch of reporters covering where that money.
I just don't know why they physically need to be in the building. You know what I'm saying? That's what I don't know. But I don't understand the way DC media works,
Part of
so
it
I'm
is,
sure
I
there's a
think,
reason.
do what Hegseth and others want them not to do, which is develop relationships with people and get.
Yeah,
The best way to do reporting, you know, and you're always allowed to be in those public spaces. And they know not to talk to reporters. Reporters have to wear badges, even lying about all that. But all right, Christian Finnegan, always great. Get back to the woods. Thank you for joining me. Really appreciate you as always. I hope everybody goes and subscribes to New Music for Olds. Substack
yeah.
right now. Go do it right
And
now.
I'm booking myself lots of road gigs. As we get closer to them, I'll start to
Oh, great.
annoy you with those as
Love
well.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything that you're doing. I'm going to go see, I'm going to attend the Ophir Eisenberg taping on
Oh,
November
fun.
9th and in New York City. So I'm looking forward to, so whatever you're doing, I want to know. Let us
Yeah.
know. Thank you very
All
much,
right.
sir.
Thanks,
Bye,
dude.
everybody.
Bye.
There goes Christian Finnegan. He is out of here. I am still here. Just want to say thank you for watching. I can't do it without your support. Soon we'll be, I'm going to turn on the monetizing option on YouTube so we can send a couple bucks the way of a guest like Christian. You can also Venmo him. The link to his Venmo is in the show notes of the podcast, which will drop later today. Thank you guys for watching live. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you are finding some joy on a suffering, in the suffering on a Friday, but hope to see you out there tomorrow at the No Kings Day. We're going to have good weather here in the Northeast. Be safe, be strong. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you and trying to be the change you want to see in the world. Patreon.com/Pete Dominick is the way to support me. I don't know what I'm doing with all this newfangled streaming stuff, but I'm figuring it out because I want to keep doing it. Bye.